This is Singapore, merely a small town in the 1950s thriving off its minimal fishing industry. Fast forward to the modern age, however, we can see that it is a gargantuan metropolitan hub that has increased its popularity through efforts of land reclamation over the decades. First, what is land reclamation? Land reclamation is the act of siphoning up land from the ocean by sucking up all of the water and increasing the level of the ocean. Therefore, seabeds and coastal fields will be revealed, revealing unsubmerged land. First, let me give you a tip for all you home searchers out there. First, build your home in the ocean. That's not a joke, I'm serious. Why? It's because you're a genius. If you look 50, 40, even 30 years into the future, you might be able to see that with efforts of land reclamation, the ocean will not be sucking up your home any longer. There will be seabeds and land as far as the eye can see. You could be a landlord selling houses and generally just housing, create neighborhoods, sell it to people. You can become rich, a tycoon. But that's just hypothetical, isn't it? Okay, but let's get to the real stuff. In many places around the world, land reclamation is catalyzed by the significance of irrigation. For example, in California, land reclamations are for the necessary purpose of creating offshore reclamations to the mainland, mainly subhumid and dry areas. For example, in the Mojave and Death Valley areas down south, southeast technically, we can see that the inhabitants have a very dry, harsh climate that basically evaporates all the water that is there year-round. Lake beds, ponds, all of that is of no avail to the residents of the area, which is why they resort to offshore land reclamation. Even in the Kutch Desert of India, we can see that the inhabitants of the area have a salt flat, which means they cannot harbor any water. They have to resort to land reclamation from the sea. This means they have water year-round, and through efforts of desalinization, they can do this effort of land reclamation through and through. Now I shall explain why countries want to reclaim land to introduce their agricultural market. In many countries, there are urban hubs in their states, capitals, or even islands, which is why incredibly small countries need to activate their agricultural market. Some incredibly tiny cities like Vatican City and Singapore rely mainly on tourism as their revenue year-round for the whole country. They need to make investment and business in the agricultural market. Therefore, with efforts of reclaiming land, they have space to create crop fields and farms as far as the eye can see. I repeated that already, just to emphasize. As far as the eye can see, which means that their agricultural market will start to fluctuate and it will change drastically. Maybe it will gradually, maybe it will skyrocket, leaving all the other superpowers in the dust. Land reclamation can not only help you with their agricultural market, it can also increase a country's land area. This is one of the reasons as to why countries reclaim land from the sea. to support their population. Some countries have a very high population density, which means a high number of people are situated in a very small area. This is one of the reasons why incredibly populous countries like China, which have cities like Shanghai, Dalian, Beijing, and Wuhan, have to reclaim land to make sure people can move elsewhere and find enough resources. Even in South Korea, capitals and infrastructure were hard to find until they started reclaiming land to introduce more urban lifestyle and housing to make sure its residents are supported in every way possible. They don't have to grope for resources on the mainland. Creating bigger urban hubs. That's how countries do it. Japan has a very large place on the world stage, and 92% of their land area is whole, and 8% is reclaimed from the sea. And altogether, over the years, they're 5% reclaiming land, and in projected years, 6% is set to be the goal. 92% is the current consistent land area. This is one of the many reasons why Japan has to reclaim land. Its space inside the Tokyo area is limited, which means most of the land reclamation has to be added on to the Tokyo Bay to make sure residents in that area have enough offices and space to make livings, working in high-rise buildings. That is a very significant factor in land reclamation, and I hope you understand that. Ecosystem and species introduction. Malaysia is an incredibly beautiful country, but just how beautiful is it? Just kidding. Well, it wants to reclaim land to create more biological reserves and nature conservation. It is one of those biodiverse countries on Earth, just below Brazil and some other South American countries. This way, they can impress the world to see that they're not just gaining futuristically. They keep the past, the nature, in its old ways, which is serene and peaceful. Finally, how countries look good on the world stage. How people impress other people. Countries like the US, Canada, China, and Russia have embarked on incredible land reclamation projects. Why? It's because they can create ties all across the world. The US and Canada have created NATO and EU ties, and many microstates across the world are flourishing with international mutual ties. Finally, I'll give you an example to enlighten you. This is the Netherlands. It had 12 provinces. Mainly their whole population was situated in the Amsterdam metropolitan area. Why did they reclaim land? To introduce Flevoland, which is accessible and closest to the Amsterdam metropolitan area. It helped the population establish new resources. It was easily accessible as it was so close to the Amsterdam metropolitan area. Now, you can see why countries reclaim land. It's a futuristic, it's a seesaw for the future. And it can see that other countries are developmentally ahead. Thank you for listening to my speech. I hope you enjoyed learning about land reclamation, its uses, and make sure to become a rich tycoon when you grow up, making land